Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I hope that you've had an absolutely fantastic week. For those of you who are new to Mental Health Moment, welcome, welcome. It's Dr. Hammond here with your Mental Health Moment. We are here every Tuesday live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you who tune in every single week, welcome back. So happy to have you here live. And for those of you who are watching the replay on Dr. Nikisha Hammond YouTube, welcome back. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to like the video and share. And thanks again for those who are starting to join here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. So in case you are new to Mental Health Moment, and let me know in the chat here actually where you are tuning in from today. I am in Indiana today. So I reside in Tampa Bay area, Florida, but today I'm in Indiana. But let me know where you're tuning in from today, and hopefully these comments will come in. Sometimes they take a while here with the Wi-Fi connection, but nonetheless, if you are new to Mental Health Moment, just so you know, the first Tuesday of every month, which of course is today, is specifically devoted to children's mental health, children and youth, children and teen mental health, because our youth have a lot going on, as we know. So whether you're a parent, a grandparent, aunt, uncle, you know someone with a child, you work with kids, whatever capacity, or you want to hear this information and share it with others, usually it's applicable for ourselves as well as adults. Be sure to do that. But thanks for those who are still starting to join here. New York is in the house. Welcome. Apopka, Florida. Welcome. I actually know where that is because I grew up in Orlando, so I know where that is. Rhode Island's in the house. Alabama, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Chicago with the exclamation point. Welcome. LA's in the house. New Jersey, Maryland, North Carolina, Zephyr Hills, Florida, Ontario, Canada. Welcome, welcome. Thanks to you guys so much for joining here today. Louisiana, Virginia, New York. Welcome, welcome. So today, on today's version of Mental Health Moment, I wanted to share with you a couple of tips. Again, whether you have your own kids, someone else you know has a child, or you work with kids, or you know of someone with a child, whatever capacity, today is specifically for our kiddos. Because what I've found in my work as a psychologist is a lot of times it seems like in the field of psychology and the field of mental health, we are, which I definitely agree with, but we're trying so much to work on the stigma of mental health, as we should. However, there's still millions of kids, millions of teenagers who will never receive the mental health treatment that they deserve, that they need professionally. It just is what it is. We're trying to close the gap. We're trying to do all these things in mental health field, again, which I respect and I agree with. But on today's mental health moment, I'm going to teach you a couple of tools that you can, again, use with kids who may or may not ever see a therapist's office. Because the reality is every single person deserves good mental health. Every single person deserves to be emotionally healthy. I truly believe that from the bottom of my heart. So thanks for those who are still starting to join here. New York is in the house, Haiti's in the house, Brooklyn, Alabama, North Carolina, with a couple of hands up in the comments. I see you. Welcome. Canada's in the house. Joining you from Liberia. Welcome, welcome. Irvine, California's in the house. So great to have you. Thanks so much for joining here. So the first tip I want to give you today related to kids is, when we think of, even for ourselves as adults, when we think of self-care, we typically, I know for myself personally, I didn't really even understand that whole concept until my late 20s. And I really wish I knew earlier and understood how important it was, because I could give you a whole lot of stories, but I really rushed through a lot of things. Everything seemed to be a rush when I was a kid and when I was a teenager. Everything was a rush. Everything was about school. Everything was about everybody else. Like, there was zero self-care in my life because I wasn't really taught that. I wasn't taught how to slow down. I wasn't really taught how to take care of myself. Society wasn't really focusing on that at the time. It felt like, to me, it felt like we were turning our kids, when I look back as an adult, it felt like we were turning our kids and our teens into little machines to do something in the world and be productive. But anyways, that's a whole nother, I'll get off my soapbox on that, whole nother topic. However, what is very important for us to be doing with kids is to make sure we are teaching them early on about self-care, about how important it is to take care of their mental health. It is never too early to start. If you know a preschooler, yes, 3 years old, 3, 4, 5 years old, if you know the younger crowd, you could teach them at that age. If maybe they didn't get it that young, but they're in elementary school, middle, high school, even if it's young adult, at whatever, whoever you can impact, whoever you're around, whoever you can share this information with, we have to be teaching our youth, our children, our teens, or young adults. We have to be teaching them the importance of taking care of themselves. So one of the things I've done personally, you all, because for those of you, and hi for those who are still starting to join here, Dallas, Texas, Columbus, Ohio, welcome, welcome. So for those of you who are not new to Mental Health Moment, you know that my schedule is crazy, and I'm usually in some city or another. Today, I'm in Indiana, the state of Indiana. But my schedule's hectic, like all of our schedules, right? So what I've learned though, and what I've trained my brain to do over the past couple of years, because self-care is like high on the list for me, very important, right? Is to make sure that I'm finding things to calm my brain down, finding things to have mindfulness, which we've talked about on another mental health moment. Mindfulness just meaning getting to a point where you can live in the present moment. So actually kids do a really great job of that, better than us as adults, because we're usually thinking about something that happened yesterday, what happened in our childhood, what's going to happen in the future, what we should have done, could have done, would have done, all those things, right? That's usually how our brains work as adults. Kids are a bit better at sort of living in the present moment. That's why for some of you who know, I have a almost 11-year-old, and for some of you who know, with kids, sometimes they're totally on their own time, time frame, right? So when you're like, hurry up, get ready, let's go, like they're in a different world because they live more in the present. However, we can also still teach them how to find things in their environment that bring them joy and that reduce their stress. So for example, right? So obviously you can see I'm in a hotel today. So yesterday when I got here, the first, well, for me, because I really love nature. That's something that is very common to me, brings me a lot of peace, a lot of joy, a lot of mindfulness. So I look out of the window. It's free, right? Just to look out the window. And anyhow, at this particular hotel, they have like a little waterfall area, which I wasn't looking for a little mini waterfall, obviously, but it was there. And I'm like, okay, that's an area then that I'm going to find that mindfulness, right? To take the minute, to take the downtime. It might not be that. Normally it's not that, by the way. Looking out of a hotel window, it might just be the sun. Maybe I'm watching the sunset. It might even be raining, but maybe I can appreciate the rain. Whatever it is, again, for me, it's nature. It doesn't have to be nature for kids, but we have to teach them in their environment to find things that are calming, even if they're in the classroom. By the way, I used to work in the school system, well, a way, way long time ago, when I was doing my residency for psychology. And let me tell you, a lot of these classrooms are very overstimulating. They can be very stressful. A lot of kids are stressed out, especially little kids. They don't know what to do. It could be loud. It could be somebody bullying. There's so much going on. But if we're teaching our kids how to slow down in that moment, and even if they're finding something in the classroom that's calming for them, again, wherever their environment is, if it's in their house, if it's taking a walk outside, if they're riding their bike, if they're in the classroom, if they're maybe in a place of worship, wherever it is they are, when they can learn this skill early, you all, we are helping them and giving the gift of finding the mindfulness, finding the downtime. Now, am I saying this is a cure for ADHD, depression, anxiety, learning issues, all the things that kids go through? Of course not. Absolutely not. Nothing that I'm teaching on Mental Health Moment, please write this down. Nothing is a cure. I'm not here to cure anything, but I am here to teach you things. I think this is, I don't even know. I lost track of the years. I've been doing Mental Health Moment 5 or 6. It's been a while, you all. But I want to show you tools to help yourself. And again, the first Tuesday of the month to help the kids in your life. So it's another tool in the toolbox. But a lot of times, again, our kids are so stressed out because they're not taught how to take care of themselves. They're not taught how to calm down. They're not taught how to find some peace of mind in the present moment by little things, right? There's a lot of things that when you think about yourself, what brings you joy, right? The answers vary. There could be 300 answers. If I ask you all, what brings you joy? Put in the chat. There's different things that bring us joy, but there's also the simple things for kids, cheap, free, right? Looking at the sunset, if they're in their nature, that's free. Thinking about sports or arts or music or whatever it is that they're into, kind of cling to that passion of theirs, that can be very healing and therapeutic for them. There's a lot of different things that can help kids, but we have to teach them what to do. Right? This is how we're so focused on school. And again, obviously, I have a doctorate degree. Obviously, I believe in education. However, what I don't believe in is us just thinking that we can only teach the academics to these kids at a young age and that's all they need in life. That's ridiculous. It's not. Again, I'm getting on my soapbox tonight, y'all. But it's not, because they need the emotional skills. They need the social skills. They need the self care. They need the mindfulness training early on, as early as you can. And thanks for those who are still starting to join here. It's Dr. Hammond here getting on my soapbox tonight. No, it's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment today, because it's the first Tuesday of the month. Every first Tuesday of the month is specifically devoted to kids' mental health, to children and teens' mental health, because they really need they need a lot of intervention right now. There's a lot happening in the world, and it's very stressful for our youth as well as us as adults. But thanks for those who are still starting to join here. Let's see. United Kingdom is in the house. Welcome. Toronto, Canada, Venezuela, Denver. Who else is here? Alabama's in the house. Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. Marlin, Texas. Actually reminded me of, as far as Texas, I'm going to take a quick pause for a second. So drnikishahammond.com always has updated information. I started a new blog this year and different events and things of that nature. If you're in the Dallas, Texas area, I will be there. The city is actually Waxahachie. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. It'll be my first time there, but Friday, August 18th, I will be there. I'll be the morning keynote for a wellness symposium that's there. All the information is on my website, drnikishahammond.com. So again, if you're in the Dallas, Texas area, that's the closest major city to that city of Texas, be sure to register because of some amazing sponsors. It is completely free, open to the public. So that's why I'm inviting you all. And be sure to share, if you know of someone. It's a whole wellness summit that day, but I'll be there in the morning for the morning keynote. So drnikishahammond.com if you want to register. Again, completely free, which is awesome, and open to the public. And I'll be talking that day more about adults, for us, our self-care, our mindfulness, things that we need to do, and how we can empower ourselves within the community as well. Some of you answered that question. What brings you joy? Someone said golf brings me joy. Listening to music brings me joy. Someone said tending to my plants brings me joy. And someone said, how do we as a community extend self-care to children who have experienced trauma? Case in point, the Arkansas family who were in Texas for a basketball tournament and were stopped by the police. Very good, excellent question, by the way. So how do you extend self-care to children who have experienced trauma? You teach them how to take care of themselves, and you teach them about the triggers, if they're aware of the triggers that were traumatic to them and whatever traumatic incident. However, I will say cautiously, when it comes to trauma is a very broad term. There's some very milder types of trauma, and there's some really severe trauma. And either way, depending on the child, some children really desperately need professional mental health help in order to get through trauma and learn the skills that they need. Just saying, I've met a lot of kids. I've met a lot of people, thousands of people at this point in my career. And again, trauma is really on a spectrum. And there are certain things that I'll teach you on Mental Health Moment that can never help the trauma, because it's just so severe that someone has gone through. And I strongly recommend to go the professional mental health route if needed, right? But you can always try things at home. But if something's not working, over a long period of time, and you're able to, willing to, and can get the professional in your life, absolutely do that. However, I like to teach this on Mental Health Moment about, again, the self-care on this episode of Mental Health Moment with kids, because the reality is many kids are not going to experience that. The other thing when it comes to trauma, especially with kids, is, again, trauma comes in many different forms. But if a child truly has PTSD, which I know many of you have heard of, there can be flashbacks. There's a lot of reminders and a lot of things happening where this child is feeling unsafe. So the biggest thing is to remind this child that they are safe, to remind this child they're in a safe environment now. They're not in that situation, helping them cope through that. And again, it looks like many different things. If there were 100 kids with PTSD, they literally could all have different presentations of the trauma that affects them. That's just, and the same thing for adults, but that's just the reality. So I speak that very broadly to make sure, though, that their mindset knows that they're safe, and there's things that they can do when it comes to self-care, like deep breathing, like getting into the present moment, like finding calming things in the midst of their triggers, if you will, for their trauma, to help get through that time. But again, depending on the level of trauma, a lot of times there's also a need for professional help as well. So I hope that answered your question. And also a good resource for you, the person that asked that question, online, is helpguide.org. So help, like HELP as in Paul, helpguide.org has really great information, and way more detail and a lot more articles specifically with children's mental health. So hopefully that'll help you as well. And good evening for you who are still starting to join here. New Orleans is in the house. Welcome, welcome. Maryland's in the house. Pennsylvania's in the house. Welcome. Someone said, yep, there's no limit to trauma, whether big or small experiences. Absolutely. It really just comes in different forms. As we all know, I mean, as adults, really, the same thing with kids, but there's just situations that you could be in, I could be in, the next person could be in, and one person is traumatized from it. The other person's resilient, and the other person, kind of has a mild reaction, mild, severe, no reaction. Like, that's just the reality of how our brains work. We're affected by things differently, right? By our perspective, by our previous experiences, by our coping skills level, all those sorts of things come into play. And it's the same exact thing with kids. Someone said, praising God brings me joy. Beautiful. Someone said, I'm currently in school for mental health. You're so inspiring. Wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that. Yay, because we definitely need more people in the mental health field. So thank you for what you're doing. Trauma is an individual experience. What works for one may not work for the next person. Absolutely. Absolutely true. So again, so yeah, we talked a little bit about trauma today, but again, I strongly want to encourage you to remind these children, showing them ways that they can incorporate self-care in their lives from a really early age. That's something, when I always get asked the question often, like, what would I change in my younger years? I really wish that I knew more about self-care early on. Like, I wish I didn't have the childhood, teen years, and young adult years, and all those sorts of things without any real understanding of mental health. I really wish that were different. So I encourage you, though, again, for the youth in your life, to make sure that we're working on teaching them how to take care of themselves, teaching them how to take deep breaths, teaching them how to meditate if they're into it. Now, some kids aren't into every single thing. My son has zero desire. He's almost 11. He has zero desire to do yoga. Like, I used to be really, really into yoga, religiously into yoga. And when he was really little, he was interested. And then as he got older, he was like, no, not so interested. But we do other things. So he still understands the deep breathing. He still understands taking the time for himself, right? He still understands how to self-soothe, all those sorts of things. So it doesn't necessarily have to be one certain path, but it's important to teach kids self-care in the way that works for them. Just as how for you, it would be the same thing. If I specifically told you you had to do this particular thing and you hated doing that, then you're not going to do it, right? And it's the same thing for kids. So in the way that works best for them, that's enjoyable, that's fun, that they'll actually work on and do and take with them wherever they're at, again, with school, with extracurricular activities, or whatever it is that they're doing, where they're not always necessarily with you. Really important. Delaware's in the house. Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. So again, just as a reminder, if you're just now tuning in, Friday, August 18th, in the Dallas area, greater Dallas area of Texas, I will be the morning keynote that day at a wellness summit and wellness symposium. You can register. drnikishahammond.com has the link where you can go and register. It's completely free. It is open to the public, thanks to some amazing sponsors. So feel free. I would love to see you at that event. Let me know. You can always reach out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you're at. Let me know if you're coming, because I would love to say hello after the keynote. But I'm more than happy to help you all if you need any resources at any time. As you always know, related to mental health, feel free, again, to reach out on social or connect. I'm usually sharing some sort of mental health resource on there as well. Thanks so much for tuning in today, you all. Again, the first Tuesday of the month is always devoted to children's mental health, children and teen mental health. I will be back next Tuesday. We'll get back to our regularly scheduled mental health tips here. But again, mental health moment is all about you becoming the best version of who you are so you can show up for yourself and show up as the best version of you for those around you. And if you need me, you know where to reach me. I will see you all next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. Have an amazing week. Please help a child in your life or someone that you know of because they really, really, really need our help. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all next week. Bye, you guys.